Hi everyone, and welcome to your daily oracle reading. Now, as you probably suspect, today's oracle reading is all about this very powerful and magical and mystical and revelatory full moon taking place in the sign of Scorpio. So, I asked the cards to tell us how the light of this full moon can influence our lives. The challenge, the bindweed. The bindweed in classic tarot is none other than the devil, and I think this is such a profound synchronicity because it's all about the devil. The sign of Scorpio is so very much about the devil, as in the devil in tarot, not the devil in religion, so to speak, because it represents our personal secrets, but also our hidden emotions, the traumas, our hidden information that lies in our subconscious, or what we may have repressed in knows which corner of our minds. Now, all of that is going to be revealed, all of that is going to be pulled onto the surface. So, absolutely, individually, is going to be revealing to us where our personal blockages lie, and this may have to do with matters of finances, it may have to do with our relationship, our friendships, even work and professional lives, our contractual relationships, our relationships to third parties. But of course, it can have so very much to do with our relations to external reality, and I think this is the true challenge of this card, where we have to become aware that from a certain kind of perspective, we are the bindweed and no one else. The challenge of the bindweed, the devil, invites all of us to take responsibility for how the world is, for how society is, for how external reality is in the present moment, because this is where what actually was hidden from us all throughout this time is that our belief, is that our psychological energy is what holds a collective reality together and nothing else. Now, of course, this is something that was a very controversial theory in the past, but the new researches in quantum physics and neuroscience have demonstrated that actually reality depends so very much on our perceptions, and this is absolutely true even in the case of like sophisticated, intelligent, evolved animals. At the same time, that also like one single cellular organisms also have and possess an intelligence decision making process of their own. So intelligence is very, very questionable because consciousness might actually be a force, a universal force, which we are totally not aware of, or at least not officially, because spirituality and the ancient cultures knew this 100%, and not only did their own personal researches and philosophies demonstrate all of this to them, but they built their civilizations, they built everything that they had on this principle. So basically, what the devil is telling us, our civilization, our modern civilization, has reached a point where we have absolutely no other choice but to become aware of how powerful creators of reality we truly are. Absolutely nothing in the human world, in our normal human lives, can be possible without us fueling it with the power of our beliefs, simply by accepting the fact that this is normal, this is how the laws of physics have to play out in each and every individual case, this is the common rule, this is the common tradition, the law and order. We have to respect it, we have to do this and that according to this and that pattern, but none of this can be real, none of this can be solid, none of this can be a structure which governs and holds together our world without our express consent and the power of our beliefs, so to speak. This is exactly why centralized power needs representatives, and those representatives have to be chosen and supported by us, either explicitly, as in you support that person, you go and vote, you communicate with your representatives and, express that person, your vision, your desires, all the problems that your community is facing, etc. But it can also be done implicitly by, shutting up and not having an opinion, not doing anything and just accepting it. And this, one way or another, is enslaving all of us because we no longer have a choice what we want to support. We no longer have a choice where we direct our psychological power onto. So, this is also where our fears source from, because even if we do not rationalize it, deep down inside we know that if we don't support a certain kind of collective normal reality, how things should be for everyone, well, then we get ripped away from that and we descend into our own personal reality, into our inner world, which for very many people is extremely frightening. It terrifies them, it shocks them. They don't even wanna explore themselves whatsoever because it is a big mystery, it is a big, enigma, and of course it provokes fear. And this was absolutely fine because it was your choice, our own personal choices, what we wanted to believe and support. But now, when the world has changed, when our value systems have already collapsed, at least energetically, at least, ethereally, so to speak, then now we don't have any choice but to take control of what we support, take control of what we believe in, and use our powers wisely, because what we choose right now is definitely what we are gonna get straight away. And of course, what we choose right now is also going to influence heavily the lives and the normality of our children, of our successors, of the future generation. So this game is not just our own personal game, but also the game of our successors, the future generations. And perhaps this is why so very many weird and unusual, paranormal, call it however you want, phenomenons just swept over our world just in the past 10 years. And it took so very many different forms and shapes, and it birthed so many theories, conspiracies, mysteries, and whatever. Well, isn't that just an invitation from the universe to ask ourselves, how are we creating that? All of that was just meant to shock us and to open our eyes that whatever is alive in our subconscious, whatever is very alive inside of us, it definitely manifests in outer reality. So this is where movies, fantasies, fiction, escapism has a totally different dimension to it, because if we choose to believe in it very much, well, then we're inviting it to become real, and it does. It actually does. It was always like this. So this explains so many miracles. This explains so many mythological, events where mythology explained it and interpreted it in a very, symbolic way. And this explains so very many religious miracles and big religious events in, doesn't matter which religion. But basically, when we really, really, really want to believe in something, well, that something, especially if it's fueled by masses of people, well, that comes into reality either symbolically or sometimes in a very direct manner. And that is why the bindweed is challenging us to own our powers and to use it the way it serves us, our greatest good individually. But in order to, figure out what our greater good is, we have to take that massive inner journey without fear, without any kind of intimidation and lack of confidence, because it's us, it's whatever is inside of us is much more who we truly are than our image, than our sense of self, than our egos. So this has to be done by everyone who wishes to have at least a certain type of control over their lives and how things should be playing out on the world stage. And chances are, more people, even without knowing, even without being aware of it, even without doing this consciously, are just supporting Mother Nature, because the connection between us humans and nature is instinctual, and it doesn't need our minds or our expressed love. It just is, because that is what nurtures us. So very many people, even without knowing it, are supporting and feeding, pumping conscious energy into Mother Nature. So of course she is becoming more alive and vibrant than ever. And this is already a big good news. This is already a saving grace. This is already serving everyone's highest good. So it doesn't only have a negative side to it, that we are our own slaves, so to speak, but also that our beings, even without us knowing it, are still supporting our mother, are still supporting the source of our existence. So nature can never really be defeated. Nature will always, it doesn't matter what technology we develop, nature is always going to have the upper hand. And if you think that nature doesn't have her own way to, manipulate us psychologically towards our highest good, of course, well, then you're very wrong, because nature is a very, very good psychologist, and she's a very, very good behavioral therapist, so to speak. So she has her ways, she has her secrets, and her secrets are infinitely more ancient than ours. And this is exactly why we're guided to the opportunity, which is the Seven of Water, and this is the card of dreams, of fantasy, and ultimately imagination. And that is also a very big power that we have, because it's also basically based on our beliefs. But here our beliefs are allowed to run loose inside of our beings, inside of our minds, inside of our psyche, and they create so very many beautiful representations of certain type of energies. And whenever you daydream, whenever you fantasize, whenever you use your imagination, may it be artistically, may it be weaving it into your work or whatever you do, or in your everyday life, like for example decorating your house, decorating your bedroom, arranging your garden, deciding which plants and flowers have to be in there. All of this is an act of creation where you use your imagination and you tap into your inner beauty, but you make it happen physically with your physical body. You buy it, you make it, you create it, you plant the flowers, you paint. But all of this is perfectly valid and true energetically, because we also shape reality with our thoughts and feelings, with our frequency, so to speak. So this is the opportunity to use our powers and to make an inner choice of whatever we want to experience, of however we want our futures to look like. And when we have made that choice, through our fantasy, of course, through the simulation capacity of our mental spheres, after we made that choice, we express it, we communicate it to the universe. Basically, we plant those seeds of intentions either through a simple prayer, for example, writing down your truth and sharing it, keeping a journal. Whenever you manifest your thoughts and fantasies and dreams, so to speak, even if that manifestation is just closing yourself into the bathroom and saying it out loud, that is already a manifestation. The universe can already receive the energy of your vocal vibration and work with it. And since this is a magical full moon with Pluto in it, speaking your truth, expressing whatever you desire is really, really encouraged, because you create your reality with it. You heal yourself with it. You can even change the past by simply taking an inner journey and just telling your past self that don't be upset, let's do this together, let's solve this issue, let's not allow these feelings to stay inside of us for that much longer. And it works. Whenever you go back into your memories and change them, it works. You heal, you release, you change your attitude, you change your perception. Changing the past is changing the present and ultimately the future. So whenever you were unwise, whenever you made mistakes, whenever you chose foolishly, uninspiredly, it's okay because you can go back and change how you feel about this, and then you change the outcome already. So basically, long story short, the Seven of Water is telling us to use our powers, and this is the opportunity. Whatever we do not like, we can change by going back mentally, emotionally, meditatively, so to speak. And whatever we wish to have, whatever we wish to accomplish, we create it in ourselves, through fantasy or, mental simulation, through whatever. And then, of course, we're gonna have it. And when external reality is permissive enough, the karmic forces deliver the powerful blow onto it, because whatever happened, it doesn't matter if it's the virus or the economic part or the social part, political or spiritual part, it doesn't really matter. But none of us are supporting a collective reality anymore. We are simply not. So that gives us the chance to use that extra power which we would normally expend to believing in our jobs, believing in our careers, believing in our friends, believing in our normal lives. Now we have all that spare energy and we can do with it whatever we want. And finally, we get to the resolution. Why is this full moon so important and where is it going to ultimately guide us? And this is the Three of Earth, the card of work and cooperation. And basically, this means that whatever fantasies you have, whatever imagination you have, whatever psychological archetype you represent, you're not alone in the world. Yes, of course, you are unique and distinctive, but there's other people out there who share your, life philosophy, who share your spirituality, who share your psychological outlook, your life view, your preferences, what you hold beautiful, what you find attractive, what you find lovable, so to speak. So this leads to the creation of alliances because there are not that many people who share the same principles and thoughts and ideas and what you represent in a very precise manner, but there are a few, and when you resonate very deeply with another person, it doesn't matter where they are physically in the world, it doesn't even matter age or gender or whatever. Basically when the archetype, when your psychological configuration and all your preferences resonate, well then that connection, when it's formed, is going to lead to a beautiful, practical, useful alliance. And this is ultimately what's going to take place, where people are just going to connect to each other. Small groups, but a lot of small groups are going to be formed. Paperwork, legislation, bureaucracy is definitely going to be a thing of the past, because small communities, small local communities are going to be the batteries, the cells of the future, which build up the big picture, which build up society as a whole. And this means when those small groups operate with each other in harmony, in serenity, in a very positive and constructive attitude, well then we already have a beautiful future for all of us, regardless of what challenges, obstacles, and whatever we might face as a human collective. When we have each other, well then we have absolutely everything. So basically the cards are telling us through the Three of Earth that this is what the universe is constructing right now. It wants small groups to be formed, alliances to take place, because when you have such a powerful soul level and psychological alliance, when you look at another person as your symbiote, as someone who you actually need and value and appreciate in your life, without, going through all the small details, then you already have a world and a collective reality based on something very authentic, and ultimately love and interconnections, alliances, solidarity, humanitarianism, equality. And that is a beautiful world, at least from an emotional perspective, because it doesn't matter what life throws at us physically, what challenges we might receive in the future, as long as we're okay with each other and as long as we operate as one allied, multicellular organism, then we have all the solutions and everything to look forward to, because we can actually go through anything and everything together. Power and ultimate absolute power is definitely in the unity. But in order to have that unity, we need to rip out the bindweed. We need to become aware of just how powerful we are. We need to become aware what the human psyche actually is, and also that the consciousness of anything and everything is like an extremely powerful creational energy, and basically consciousness is the divine, it is God. That's what makes everything happen and work. And it doesn't even matter if we view it as something external or internal, because it still functions the same way. Basically, it just is. It doesn't matter how we interpret it. It doesn't matter how we look at it. It is still there, and it is still functions regardless of our attitudes. So doesn't that represent that every religion and philosophy and spirituality can coexist, because the contradictions are not actually contradictions, they're just preferences, and it's perfectly okay to be that way. All of our problems, all of our, interpersonal obstacles can just disappear just like that, because if we look at them as just illusions, byproducts of our minds, where our minds are just trying to get a grip on the truth. But when we accept that that truth isn't singular, but it can be anything anyone prefers to be, well then all our conflicts also disappear there and then, because that is the bigger truth. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all your support and for your trust. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day and a very magical, enlightening, and blessed full moon full of miracles. Thank you again, and bye for now.